What's up YouTube? Jeff back again, and today we're going to be talking about battery life. Yes, battery life on the Galaxy S22 Ultra is something that I get comments about on just about every video, whether I make a video that's about customization or a video comparing it to the iPhone. There's always at least, 10 to 20 comments about battery life, how to improve it, what's draining my battery life, all that kind of stuff. So today I'm going to talk about 5 things that are draining your battery and what you can do about that. I want to remind you guys we are doing our giveaway for April. If you're interested, I'll drop the link below. You can win flagship phone like the S22 Ultra, also some other cool prizes. If you want to participate daily, the link is below. It's a lot of fun. We do it to give back to the viewers. So let's talk about these 5 things draining your battery. And the first one we're going to talk about a lot today is the display, because the display is the biggest drainer of the battery on any modern smartphone, in my personal opinion. And if you go into the display settings, there are some things that you can modify. Now, first of all, obviously, I know that this is not something for everybody. Not everybody's going to want to change these things. It's really an educational video, so people are aware of what is draining their battery and what they could do about it if they want to. So there's a couple things in here. The first one is your adaptive smoothness. Obviously, having the 120 hertz refresh kick up to make it smoother is going to drain battery. You can turn this on standard to get a better battery life, longer battery life. That's substantial. It'll improve it substantially. I haven't done it just because I don't like 60 hertz. And like I said, it's not for everybody. A lot of these tips are not for me. It's just to educate people about what really drains the most battery life. The next thing is screen resolution. And once again, you guys can see, I have it bumped all the way up to WQHD+, which is 3088 by 1440. That's going to drain the maximum battery life, obviously, because you're going to get those sharper visuals. Everything's rendering in a higher resolution, your home screen, everything that you're navigating around the UI. You can change this to the default out of the box, which is FHD+, which is probably fine for most people, but I like to get the maximum out of my phone. I paid a lot of money for the phone. I want the maximum. But if you turn it down here, you're going to get really solid improvement of battery life. HD+, I think, is overkill, and it doesn't really look too good, so I wouldn't recommend that. And then the last thing is, of course, the brightness. So brightness, you can, of course, adapt either adaptive brightness or you can do manual brightness. There's 2 ways to look at this. If you leave adaptive brightness on, obviously, if you're in a lot of bright areas, it's going to really drain your battery a lot. Like here in Arizona, if you go outside and you're outdoors a lot, the sun's super bright in the spring and the summer. It's going to drain your battery a lot if you're on adaptive brightness. So you could turn that off, and then you could have it on manual brightness. And of course, then if you use a lower brightness when you're outdoors, that'll save you some battery. But adaptive brightness can also drain battery because it's constantly changing. So, there's a trade-off there to decide if you want to do adaptive versus manual. If you keep the manual cranked up all the time, obviously that's also going to drain battery life. So there's some give and take to decide what works best for you. But of course, the higher the brightness you're using on average, the more it's going to drain your battery. So that's pretty basic display things. The next thing is the always-on display. Now, of course, I recommend using your always-on display. I use my always-on display. As you guys have seen many times, I have a picture of my son here, got my fingerprint, logo, as you can do by default. You can also turn that off if you want. Battery percentage, and of course, you get your notifications. My phone's on Do Not Disturb because I'm making a video. But always-on display does drain some battery, even though it's, in my opinion, one of the best features on the Samsung phone. You're going to see maybe 2% battery, 1 to 2% battery decrease per hour. So through the course of the day, that's 15 to 25% of your battery in a work day that's going down. Now, there are a couple things you can do about this. If you go into the always-on display, so just search always-on display, and it's in lock screen. Tap on this. One thing you can do to improve things is when you go down here, you can turn the auto brightness on. I highly recommend either keeping auto brightness on or turning the brightness significantly down, because the auto brightness obviously does help you quite a bit when having the always-on display, because if you're in a brighter area, you won't be able to see your notification icons or your picture if you have one on the lock screen. So if you turn auto brightness on, that's good. Or if you're not gonna have auto brightness on, turn this down a little bit, because if you leave it on the maximum, and I did this for a while, I turned off auto brightness and I left it on the maximum all the time, it will drain about 3 to 3.5% per hour. I actually left this on full brightness with auto brightness off all day, and it drains a lot. So auto brightness is better because sometimes when you're in a dimmer area, it won't be as bright. So obviously always on display, if you keep that on, and especially if you crank the brightness up, it's gonna drain battery, and you can decide to either use it or not. Like I said, I use mine. I don't care about the battery loss, but it is something to be aware of. The next thing is Bluetooth devices. Obviously, you probably know Bluetooth does drain battery no matter what, device you're talking about. And of course, I have my Galaxy Watch 4 connected right here, Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. And I also have several things, connected throughout the day. I've actually got this Divoom speaker, Bluetooth speaker. The review on this is coming soon. This is a super cool gadget. I paired this up while I'm listening to music at the office today. I got headphones and stuff, lots of Bluetooth devices. The more Bluetooth devices you have connected, you're disconnecting, you're gonna drain more battery. That just makes sense, right? So the best thing to do is if you're not using a Bluetooth device, obviously like a speaker or headphones, disconnect it when you're not using it. The watch, of course, is gonna drain battery throughout the day, so that's just something I have to live with because it's always connected for a reason. The next thing is social media apps. And for this, let's actually go into my battery settings so I can show you guys what really is draining my battery, because I looked over this before I made the video. So if you go in here and tap on usage, you can go last 7 days and you can see my usage over the last 7 days. You can actually see what's draining my battery the most at the top. Twitter and YouTube Studio. Twitter and YouTube Studio. YouTube Studio and Camera, which I'll talk about in a second. YouTube Studio and eBay. YouTube Studio, Always on Display, which I just talked about, and Twitter. And Always on Display and YouTube Studio. So social media apps can be a huge battery drain, particularly Twitter and Facebook Messenger if you use them a lot. I unfortunately use Facebook Messenger to communicate with family, so that's an app that I have that also drains some of my battery. But Twitter, I'm on there all the time. And of course, I'm on YouTube Studio responding to you guys' comments. So, obviously you can turn off some of the things like location, other permissions inside the social media apps to tone down some of the usage, allow them not to have so much background usage. All those things you can turn off inside the apps themselves. So if you go down here to settings, go into apps, and you take something like, let's just take Facebook, for instance. You go into Facebook, right? Obviously, you can see here, remove permissions if app is unused, that's checked. You can also go down here and kind of check your battery usage and see if it's in optimized. I actually keep Twitter in unrestricted so I get notifications in real time. That's something you can also change to save some battery inside the app permissions as well. Okay, the next thing is kind of a bonus. Actually, camera. I guess I didn't talk about camera yet, so let's talk about camera. The camera is, of course, going to be a battery drain if you use the camera a lot, right? Certain days I don't use the camera as much, but if I'm taking a lot of pictures on the weekends, like I'm outdoors with my son, of course, there's going to be a lot of battery drain from taking photos and videos and things like that. So that's just a kind of a common sense one. This one varies from day to day. Obviously, if you don't use the camera a certain day, the camera won't be a huge battery drain, but that's definitely another one to watch out for. And then the last one is customization. And yes, I love customization. I've talked about it. I make a ton of videos about it. But customizing stuff can drain some battery. This widget right here, which is from 14KWGT Reloaded, this widget drains a little bit of battery. Good Lock and Theme Park do drain some battery, even though they're optimized Samsung apps. You guys saw before, I had a video wallpaper. I actually went back to my just standard wallpaper. This clock right here is actually a Good Lock from the Good Lock clock app. That drains some battery, right? Having a picture on your always on display versus just the standard always on display clock, that drains some battery as well. So all these little customization things, they drain some battery. Is it so much that it's going to make a huge difference to me? No, I still get about 5 hours screen on time, 5.5 hours when I need it. That's enough for me in a work day or even on a weekend. But it really just depends on for you. If you need to make some tweaks to that, you can always do less customization, which of course you're getting less enjoyment from your phone, but you're getting more battery life. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification icon for future videos like this. If you guys want to see more videos with battery saving tips or other kind of videos, just let me know. Again, you can enter the giveaway. I'll drop the link in the description in the pinned comment. I appreciate you guys checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.